Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Devin Dickinson with Lauren again, and it's a great time of the year. We're in Arizona. I'm looking outside. It's beautiful weather. It's that special time when the weather starts to turn and it's playoff time. So I have a game tonight. So I'm a little nervous, a little amped up on coffee, and hopefully be in a good mood when I'm filming tomorrow. So, Lauren, welcome back, and I'm excited to get at it.
Excited to dig in too. You reached out to me the other day with a thought that I wanted to kind of expand on. And the idea behind it was that as leaders, we are called to be both humble and bold, kind yet courageous, and asking others, are they leading with a heart that reflects both grace and truth, and the difficulty leaders have around that. So I wanted to explore that idea more.
Yeah, I get this question a lot, where from leaders and entrepreneurs all the time, and they're like, "Man, I really struggle, right? Because I feel like they have that imposter syndrome. They're like, next thing you know, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm leading this organization. How did I even get here, right? And so, and you can tell there's this insecurity on how to lead and how to deal with people, because a lot of people didn't ask necessarily or expect to be in this position where you have 50 employees, 10 employees, whatever, and so it's very overwhelming. And so people oftentimes deal with this imposter syndrome and they don't know how to lead well. And really, I think there's a lot of bad teaching out there on leadership. And one of the things I always encourage people is to be humble, kind, but also truthful. And people, they're like, well, how do those things fit together? And I'm like, well, it starts with humility, right? And especially if you're going to be a Christian leader and you want to lead the way that Jesus did, there's over and over and over and over like the teachings on humility, right?
Mhm.
And it's not enough. I think oftentimes people say, well, I'm humble, right? And I'm like, are you? Right? Like that sounded kind of braggadocious, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think simply saying that you're humble um is not isn't getting there, right? It's like
Mhm.
true humility realizes your imperfections. True humility understands that this is an honor just to be in the seat, right?
Mhm.
Just to be in the position that you're at, whether you're the CEO of the company, the founder of the company, a manager, wherever you're at, like true humility is just being grateful that you're there and also realizing your own inadequacies and how you need like the Holy Spirit to help you in these ways. And so once you kind of understand like your own inadequacies and not so that you become, just weak-minded or lose your confidence, but so that you're reliant on the Holy Spirit and also realize that others like that they're not perfect, but you're not perfect either, right? So that it starts with humility, right?
Mhm.
And then when you're humble, you can truly be kind,
Mhm.
right? And you can see that others have like that they want to grow. Like, because most people, I've met very, very few people who don't want to be good at what they do. I've met very few people that like don't want to like achieve success, right? Like,
Mhm.
and even people who are lazy, like there's a reason why they're lazy, right? And so, like to be able to approach with kindness, but then also to be bold enough to speak truth. And there's this strange balance between humility, kindness and truth that I think leaders struggle with.
Mhm. So if I was going to open up the dictionary of Devon, how would you define just a great leader? What would be your definition
Yeah.
of that?
Someone that puts others before themselves,
Mhm.
right? And at the same time is able to be truthful with those people for the good of the organization, you know? And so I also coach soccer and coaches can relate with this all the time because sometimes your favorite players are not in your starting lineup.
Mhm.
And that's hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be truthful enough to do what's right for everybody, right? So in your organization, whether you're a coach or whether you're leading a company, like there has to be truth in your decision making, right? You have to be honest and do what's best for the organization. At the same time, you have to care for the individuals, right? And so how you treat each individual is incredibly important. And again, how we do that can only be done in my opinion through like self-reflection and humility. My intention is that I try to do a devotional every morning. And you would think that devotional would be about showing me, oh, that needs to change, or this needs to change, or this person's out of line. And almost every time when I'm doing my devotional, what I realize is how much I need to change, right?
Mhm.
I see the things in my life that need to be adjusted, tweaked, changed, repented of, you name it, right? But when I start with myself, I can be a better leader. I can be truthful and kind. I can also do what's best for the organization without appearing selfish and cutthroaty and draconian. It gets me in the right frame of mind to lead others.
Mhm. Why do you think some leaders struggle with showing kindness?
Insecurity, right? Like there's this idea like that as a leader you have to be strong, right? And if you don't have every answer to every question, or if you show yourself vulnerable, you're going to be perceived as weak. And this is glorified in the movies, and frankly there's a lot of folks today in the media and in politics or whatever that have this very narcissistic view, right? Where I'm always right, this is my way, this is it, and if you don't agree with it, not only are you wrong, I dislike you,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I think that's poor leadership. I don't think that's Christ-like. I think the ability to put others before yourself, I think that demonstrates strength,
Mhm.
right? When you put yourself before everybody else, to me, that's someone who's weak-minded. That's someone who's insecure, and I think, but people think that's what they have to do. Otherwise, they're going to be perceived as weak, and so we see this in organizations all the time, where this very alpha kind of mentality takes over. And again, I'm not talking about being weak-minded, right? You need to have strength of mind, you need to be confident, but you also need to be humble enough to realize that you're not always right.
Mhm.
And people who have this bravado and this alpha approach, like they break people, they break their organizations, and it's because they're broken on the inside.
How do you create a culture of kindness while still holding people accountable?
Yeah, I don't think it, and this is g the crux of this, one of the things I want people to understand is, if you're not truthful, you're actually not kind. So I'm gonna say that again. If you're not truthful, you are not kind. And truthfulness, how you deliver that truthfulness is the art, right? I know so many people that are not truthful, and they think they're being kind because they're saving people's feelings,
Yeah.
right? Truthfulness does not always feel great to hear it and to receive it. So that's where the kindness comes in, right? But if we're not truthful, we're not kind, because that means we're prohibiting that person's growth. And it means we're also not doing our job as a leader, right? So I'll use the analogy of sports again, right? So if you have people on your team that you know, let's say that you're not telling them what they need to do to improve upon. Number one, they've limited their growth. Like my job as the coach is to get the best out of my team and the best out of my players. Sometimes I have to tell them things that they don't want to hear, right?
Mhm.
So I can think of an example where, I have a player very, very high level, terrific player. And he does great in high school. He wants to play at a high level in college, and frankly, he's got the ability to. However, he has a weakness, like he only uses his right foot.
Mhm.
And like he doesn't like to hear that he needs to use his left. He doesn't like to be critiqued. But like I, as a coach, I care for him.
Mhm.
I want to see him achieve his dreams. So I could either A, not say anything and be his favorite coach of all time and just tell him how great he is,
Mhm.
right? And he'll love me if I tell him that. If I just tell him, dude, you're the best player ever, he'll think I'm the best coach ever,
Mhm.
right? But if I'm truthful with him because I want the best for him, I'm going to challenge him on his deficiencies. I'm going to challenge him on his weakness. Now, here's what's funny. He's not going to like me.
Mhm.
I might be his now least favorite coach. Nobody else tells him this stuff. But it's not kind of me to not help him grow.
Yeah.
It's also not kind, and I'm also not doing my job for the rest of the team if I'm not challenging each and every person and making the hard decisions. like only one person can play each role, right, on the team. And I have 2 people for this position, 2 people for that position, 2 people for this position. I have to make the hard decision for what's right for the team is to the best of my knowledge. Doesn't mean I'm always right. And me sharing this with people allows them the grace, because I will tell them, guys, you can, if you disagree with me, please come and talk to me, right? I'm not always right. And I want to hear your perspective because I could be missing something. And so that's provided, in my opinion, a good culture for our team, but it also allows me to be truthful so that they can grow as individuals. Now you take that to, our business world, right? Like the different companies that I run, right? So we have to look at each and every person in the organization, and are we treating them right? Are we helping them to grow? And, and if so, are we truthful with them? Because just like people want to grow in sports, they want to grow professionally,
Yeah.
right? And so being humble and kind sometimes means telling them the truth, which means the reason why you didn't get this promotion or even consider for this promotion is because of these reasons, and delivering that in humble kindness.
For our listeners who want to grow in their leadership, what's the first step they should take?
Self-evaluation, 100%. I've talked with a guy that I've been mentoring for a long time. I'm going to call it mentoring because I'm going to call it pseudo mentoring, because he asks me questions. I tell him things in truthfulness, and he chooses to pick and he doesn't listen or implement a lot of what I say, but I care for him. I love him. He's very talented. One of the things I've told him over and over again is that, dude, like, you don't have any emotional intelligence. You're brilliant, but like, you need to self-reflect. You don't have emotional intelligence, and therefore you shouldn't be a leader. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be in business. You should just be like a solopreneur, just you all on your own, leading your own thing, and then hire a bunch of subcontractors. But you're not good with people. And he refuses, or he's not listening to me and reflecting upon himself. And so he's not growing. And I think he's kind of an extreme example, but I think most people, when they go and they think, I need to improve my organization, they look externally, right? They look and they start pointing fingers. This needs to change. That needs to change. He needs to change. She needs to change. And rather than internally, like, what do I need to do? Self-reflect first and foremost on yourself. And as you grow, you're going to be able to grow others. And so I think, especially when you think about kindness and truth, like, you have to start with yourself. Yeah.
What's one thing we could do this week to bring truth and kindness to our organizations?
Yeah. I think, considering, looking around at the different folks within your organization and understanding, like, what conversation have I been avoiding, right? Right now I said that, you probably like 3 conversations probably pop into your head, right? Like, I've been avoiding having this call, right? I've been avoiding this review. I've been avoiding this interview or review, all of these different things. Like, what are the conversations you've personally been avoiding? And then thinking about how can you handle that conversation 100% truthfully, but being kind, right? And again, I don't think you can properly be kind unless you're humble. So I would figure out what conversations you've been avoiding, plan out how to have those truthfully yet kindly. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. And I hope this allowed you to reflect upon yourself as a leader, how to be humble, truthful, and kind within your organization. And I also want to take this time as well that if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment on social media. We'll try to address it in the podcast. But we're really happy you joined us today, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.